Hey y'all, it's Linda. Welcome back to my channel. For today's video, I'm gonna blame all of you for this one. I tried to resist this next item, and you already know what it is based on the subject, based on the title of the video, but it's the NATASHA DENONA YUCCA palette. I had mentioned in my Instagram and in a video that I was interested in this, and I expected so many of you to be like, nay, Linda, you are on a low buy, and you should not be buying a grungy palette when all you love and all you have in your collection are grungy palettes. But no, you guys did the exact opposite, and so many of you were like, actually, in fact, you do need this. Okay, I can't blame you fully. Basically, what happened was I sat on this for weeks before buying it. I kept looking at it and going, do I need it? Do I need it? Do I need it? And then NATASHA DENONA herself, the makeup artist herself, emailed me and was like, yo, Linda, I see you looking at this palette. I'd like to give you 20% off. It was not NATASHA DENONA herself. It was the company, but you get my point. 20% off, like how was I to resist? So I caved. Obviously, I'm going to show you this palette. Obviously, I'm going to show you swatches, but what I have also already done is taken a few palettes, namely 3 palettes in my collection that I consider to be grungy, lovely, little dirty, grimy, lovely palettes, and I wanted to compare this palette against all 3 of those. And I have to admit, I was kind of surprised at which palette was the most similar to this and which palette was the most dissimilar to this, because I really expected kind of all 3 of them to be the same as this, and I was kind of surprised, and you might be too. First, let's talk about the palette itself. This does retail for $69, but like I said, I received a coupon, so I paid $55.20 for it, which I think is very reasonable for a NATASHA DENONA palette. I have several NATASHA DENONA palettes, and they are some of my favorite formulas on the market. I never seem to have any issues with blending or with colors muddying against one another. I think that the foils are always really foiled and sparkly, and the mattes are always rich and pigmented. The outside packaging even of this palette, though, is definitely making me a little swoony. So we do have this gorgeous outer packaging, which has this kind of ombre sunset vibe to it, and the palette inside is roughly the same, except I feel like this is even more in the browns and oranges, whereas the front shows that bit of green. And then we have inside the palette. Inside, we do have 15 different shades. These are all very grungy and very grimy and very dirty, and I love them. There are several different formats of eyeshadow in this palette. We do have the classic mattes. We do have NATASHA's cream to powder formula. We have metallics, and we have sparkling foiled formulas. And I believe that the sparkling foils is a new formula for NATASHA DENONA. So the cream to powders are the only ones that I tend to not necessarily have trouble with, but they're not my favorite formula, and there are several in this palette, so we're gonna go over that. Let's take a look at these swatches. So I did all of my swatches the same way I always do, on my bare arm, and I used to do 1 swipe in the pan, 1 swipe on my arm, but I do not do that anymore, because when you put eyeshadow on your eyes, rarely are you swiping once in the pan and once on your eye. You're gonna build it up to however you want it to look, right? So I always build it up on my arm to show you the full opacity. I have to admit that when I swatched these, I was kind of blown away. It's not that I didn't think they would perform beautifully, I did, but when I saw this color story really laid out in swatches, that is what had me swooning. I love this color story together. Of course, there are some colors that are attracting my eye more than others, ones that my eye immediately goes to, but for the most part, everything in this story works. I think all the colors do work with one another, and I just think it's really cohesive. Now, the only color that did not perform the way I wanted it to is one of those cream to powder formulas, and it's this shade right here. This is Calathea, and it is a very dark green, almost leaning a little bit blue in that tone, in the undertone. Now, here's the weird thing. When I swatched it, it didn't go on great, but when I washed the swatches off, that was the only shade in the entire palette that stained my arm a little bit. So I'm confused by it. And again, I always say this, but swatches on your arm do not equal how it's going to look on your eyes. So I do still want to try all these shades on my eyes, but everything else performed like a dream. Those foiled shades feel almost wet. They are so metallic. They are so deep, so freaking foiled. Petition for NATASHA DENONA to name all these shadows freaking foiled instead. Sign down below. Now I wanted to compare these to a few different palettes. So the first palette, I say obviously, but to me it was obvious that I wanted to compare it to was the new Nomad Okavango Safari palette. Now, I think when you see these, you can tell they definitely have similar vibes to them. We've got these earthy, yucky brown tones. And whenever I say yucky, by the way, that's a compliment coming from me. You've got these beautiful brown tones, these greens, these earthy tones. When I looked at these side by side, I went, yeah, they're definitely similar in a way. I have to admit, I was surprised at how many shade dupes or near dupes I was able to find between these two palettes. In these swatches here, the new NATASHA DENONA palette will always be on top, and on bottom will be the one that I'm comparing it to, in this case, the Nomad Okavango Safari palette. You can see there were several shades that did match up with one another. Now, of course, none of them are exactly to a T the same, but they are close enough that if you really are trying to save money, I do think that the Okavango Safari palette is a good option. However, you are missing a lot of the really punchy tones, like the very bright lime green, the the blue down here. You're missing a lot of those tones in this palette itself. So if you love this color story, you might want both, but I do think that the Okavango Safari palette is the one that by far is the most similar. The next one I had to swatch next to it was the 420 palette by Melt. Again, similar grungy vibes, very similar looking in the pan. Actually, is it similar looking? I don't know. All I know is that when I swatched them together, there definitely were a few shades, namely the brown shades that you could compare to each other. But the other shades, there was just no real match. I really thought that the two bright yellow shades would be very similar to each other. They are not. One of them is definitely green and bright yellow leaning. The other one is more of like a citrine kind of color. It's called Camu Camu. Those colors are drastically different. Any of the really punchy colors were all very different. So if you are just looking for brown matches, yes, you're always gonna find dupes, I think, for any browns in any palette. But the rest of the colors are where the NATASHA DENONA stands out. And finally, the one that I don't know why, but I sort of thought was going to have the most matches to the new NATASHA DENONA was my beloved Melt Gemini palette. This, as you might know, is probably my favorite color story of all time, my favorite palette of all time. And I was surprised how few of these matched up. There were very, very few matches in this. They definitely, again, had some of those similarities with the browns, but that was it. I really thought this one would be like almost a dupe for the Gemini, and it is not. Now, with that being said, I have swatched all of these. I have shown you comparisons. I've shown you the packaging. I have not yet put this on my own eyes. So I want to do a look for you, and I am just going to be doing one look and a first impressions today. Stay tuned to maybe my Instagram or my TikTok pages for more looks with this palette, because I do want to create more looks, but today I just really want to play with this palette for the first time. I do have my face makeup on, obviously. I'm going to be touching some of this up because I didn't put any highlighter on yet, and I feel like this is very matte for Linda. But again, I want to play with the NATASHA DENONA palette. I really want to see if I can create something good. Okay, so I think, shocker of all shockers, we are going to do a halo eye today. So I think I want to start just in my crease, and for that, I'm going to dip into, and forgive me if I butcher any of these names, I am going to try, but it's Tipu, T-I-P-U, and I'm just taking that on a BK Beauty 201, and I just kind of want to run this into my crease, just for a little bit of a base. Oh my God. These like grungy, dirty tones, they're just like, they make me so happy. Also, NATASHA DENONA shades really do blend out so easily. Like, I know they're more expensive, I do know that, but I feel like these are great palettes for beginners because they just blend themselves. I love this shade. So this definitely has a little bit of brown tones to it, but also yellowy greens. It's something that, like, I feel like these are the kind of colors that really make my eye color pop. Oh, so pretty. Now there is zero fallout on my face, but I will say there's a bunch of kick up in the pan. So if that bothers you, there you go. It doesn't bother me, but I want to let you know. All right, I'm going in a bit more detail. This is the Singe EO2, and I'm going into Valley, which is this mid-tone brown. I'm thinking it's a little bit deeper than what we have going on already. And I'm gonna put that in the crease, but also just on the outer kind of third of the lid. I'm also going to put a bit of that on the inner corner. I'm just going to be doing a lot of layering with this look today. So far, so good. It's looking very, very soft, but I don't mind that. I'm also going to go into Flax, which is, I mean, it's the deepest brown shade in this palette. We do also have Calathea, which is a very deep green shade, but I'm going to put this on the very outer and very inner corner. Yeah, this is deepening up nicely. Natasha Denona has a tendency, I feel like, to put these brown shades in a pan that are like borderline black, but I feel like because they are not black, they're a little less intimidating to a lot of people. Maybe that's just me. I am saying this as somebody who is intimidated by black eyeshadow. Going back in with the Singe EO2 just to blend that color out a little bit more. This color is very pretty. I would say though, and this is not any knock against the quality, this is just a statement in general. I would build this color up, like spend the time building up this deepest color. Again, this color is Flax. Spend some time building this up because this is the kind of color that could get muddy if it gets out of hand. I'm also gonna touch up Tipu again. Might be Tipu. Oh my God, I love this color. It's like baby diarrhea. You know, I'm also going to go ahead while we're here and take Tipu under my eyes, and we're going to like grunge this out. So I'm liking how that's looking. I'm trying to figure out which one of these shadows I want to apply to the center of my lid, which one of the sparkles. So there's 4 different foiled, and I feel like I want to use one of them. And of course my eye is going straight to Makia, which is a gold shifting green, but also this one, Komorabai, is really pretty. It's just like a kind of dirty gold. You know what? Let's use that. Let's use it. Let me try putting it on my finger first. So this also has, should we just look at that for the rest of the video? This also has a slight green tinge to it, but when they say foiled, they mean foiled. Look at, Y'all, now that is one dip into the pan. Oh my goodness. So I want to touch this up because I want to have that deepness on the inner corner. So I don't want to lose that. So I'm going to go back in and kind of touch up these colors, but like, oh my God, look how pretty and foiled that is. That is incredible. Okay, we're not gonna cry. We're not gonna cry today. Okay, I'm taking a little bit more of Flax, which again is that super dark color. And I'm gonna press this right on my lash line here, just to deepen that up. I'm just kind of keeping that to the outer third of my lower lash line. You know what? I'm also gonna skip liquid liner today, gasp. And I wanna take an angled brush and I'm going back into Flax. And I'm going to press that just right along the upper lash line just to deepen up the lash line and kind of give it some definition. I am seeing a little bit of fallout over here, by the way, of like the sparkly, but I mean, it kind of looks celestial. Part of me feels like I need to do more colors. The other part of me wants to put on black eyeliner on the waterline and lots of thick mascara. I think that side is winning. For my highlighter, I wanted to try this product that is new to the market and new to me. So this is the Viva Shine by Kaja. I've used these before, but I've never used this new one. I'm so excited. So we do have 3 different shades. The first one is a very shimmery champagne with just lots of different color sparkles in it. And this color is Frosted Pink. It is definitely a pink tone. The next shade is Twinkle Dots. This one is really interesting. It has those punches of like white silver within the gold. And then the third shade is Marble Cotta. So this one I would imagine probably looks better on a deeper skin tone than mine, but it is really cool having that marbled effect. But I want to try, just because it's the weirdest one, I want to try Twinkle Dots because it's got all those dots in it. So I'm going to take a highlighter brush. This is the Moda 265 BMX Glow Brush, and I'm gonna pat that in. There is a lot of like just glitter, but let's see. So these are glittery. This is like a glitter bomb. I don't know how I feel about that. I feel like on camera this is looking really pretty, but in reality it just looks like glitter, like thick chunky glitter. There's glitter all over my shirt. I don't know how I'm feeling about it. Let me know. Do you like a glittery highlight, or do you prefer something more smooth, more finely milled? Let me know. I mean, this is pretty and it is noticeable. For a concert, this could be amazing. So here is the final look, the very first look with the Natasha Denona Yucca palette. Let me give you my first impressions on this. I love it. Here's the thing, not gonna lie, when I opened this palette and I saw it, like it finally came in, I was real excited. I opened it and I literally opened it and went, and I didn't know if I liked it. I really didn't. I was looking at it and going like, why was I looking at this for weeks? Why was I so excited about this? Why did I need to buy this? And then I did the swatches and I was like, oh, that's why I needed to buy this. Natasha Denona quality is unmatched to me when it comes to eyeshadows. A lot of people don't love her eyeshadows. A lot of people don't. I personally do. I think they are the best on the market. I also love Melt. You all know that. But Natasha Denona shadows, they always consistently blend smoothly. They consistently don't get muddy. They consistently are foiled. There's very little fallout, which you can't even tell now because I have so much fucking glitter on my face from that highlighter. But in general, they are just such an amazing formula that I never have any issues with them whatsoever. I love this look I came up with. Like, I know that this is kind of a basic bitch look. I love it. I feel like my eyes look really blue. I feel like it's got that like grungy vibe to it with the extra mascara and just like, oh my God, I love the dark tone going into that gold. I feel so pretty in this look, I have to admit, and I haven't felt pretty like that in a minute. So I really love this. Now, for me, the challenge is going to be here and here, like using like some of these lighter peachy shades. And also, I want Camu in some look, that really, really bright citrine lime green. But I just did, it didn't work in this look. But I need to find a look for it to work in. And also, I know myself, I love this color Willow. I need to press myself to use that one. I need to push myself. So do I think it is worth it if you have none of the other palettes I compared it to? I really do. I think the quality really is amazing. I think the color story is really cool. If you like those grungy earth tone vibes, you will love this. Do I think you need it? If you have the Okavango Safari palette, that one is a tough one for me because again, there were a bunch of shades in these that did match up. Again, not exactly, but close enough. But there's so many differences. I feel like this palette is heavily green leaning, but you also have those really bright punches of orange, which this one does not have. This one, you do have a few at the bottom, but they're not these like beautiful orangey tones that this one has. I am happy to have them both. I really am, because the thing is, grungy tones like this are my absolute favorite. So personally, I feel like I can almost never have too many. But what do you think? Are you interested in this palette? I know you've seen a million videos at this point. Are you still deciding? Are you going to wait until there's a sale? Let me know your thoughts. I really, really want to hear them. But that's it. If you like this video, if you like the idea of getting the comparison swatches, and you like the honest review of do you need this crap, please give this video a thumbs up. That really, really helps out my channel. You all can follow me on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. Those are all GlitterFallout. And as always, and forever, in my grungy little heart, you are super freaking ROCKSTARS. And I love you so much with my whole heart. And I'll see you in the next video. Bye.